Hey Charmers, welcome today, and we are going to talk about skin tone and undertone. And this may not be your first video on skin tone, but hopefully it's your last and we can get you the answers that you've been looking for. So when it comes to skin tone, the typical words are cool, warm, and neutral. And the reason I want to stay away from those is because with the skin, most people have red or yellow in them, and we typically think of cool as greens and blues. And if we do have some green and blue in our skin, it's in very small amounts. So today, instead of cool and warm, when talking about the skin, I'm going to talk about red or yellow and which colors are more dominant or more present. So the first portion would be we need to figure out how dark the skin is, and then the second portion would be figuring out what the coloring is underneath. So for me, I love examples. So I have 3 beautiful models here with me today, and I'm going to start with the beautiful Zari, and we're going to use one by one, we're going to go through and talk about their skin coloring and the tones and how to pick their foundation. So you want to join me in this chair over here? Okay. So now I'm with Zari, and I'm gonna tell you how I picked her foundation color for today. So first off, I'm gonna start out with the shade, and a shade is going to be your gray tone scale of how deep you want that color to be. And then we're gonna talk about the undertones, whether that's gonna be neutral, red, or yellow, like we talked about earlier. So today, I picked a 7 and an 8. We're talking on a scale from 1 to 10 here. Every foundation company is going to be different. I just want you to get an idea of how dark we're talking. So as you can see, we have 2 different colors going on, so I chose to use 2 different colors in her face. So once we picked that, I wanted to talk to her about if she has more red or more yellow in her skin. So I know the answer to this, but I think it's good that everyone at home knows what I'm talking about. So we're gonna use some examples. And first off, I'm gonna start with the audience that I have here today. So do you guys think that Zari here is more red or more yellow, or an equal mix of 2? Like if you had to pick one dominant color, what are we gonna go with here?
I would say red.
Yeah.
I think with the darker skin tone, red kind of seems to pop out.
Common mistake to think that it's red just because of the skin tone. So that's what I was talking about. We don't want to get too carried away with confusing lightness and darkness. So we want the gray tone scale first, with 1 being white and 10 being completely black. If you were to take a black and white photo of yourself, what color would your skin fall on that spectrum? So that's gonna be your shade, and then from there, we're going to look at the different undertones. So in the center of her face, she has a little bit more yellow, but I would say for the most part, she's not too much red and she's not too much yellow, and most of us fall within that category. So don't be afraid to be neutral. In this case, it's actually not a bad thing to be a neutral skin tone. Even if you're a little bit one side to another, some people like that look a little bit more, and it's a little bit more complementary with a lot more colors, which is fun. We all like to do our makeup, get all those colors in there, those greens and blues, and that's where you will have the cools versus the warms when you're talking lipstick colors, when you're talking eyeshadow colors. So don't get that confused with skin tone colors, which are primarily red and yellow. So I'm here now with the beautiful Allie. Allie is going to have a little bit more cool tone skin, and I think cool tone skin is where a lot of people get hung up, just because none of us have blue or what we consider typically cool colors on those kind of greens and plums and purples. I'm going to ask you guys a question. What color of jewelry does Allie tend to wear more? More of like a gold or a silver? What would you guess?
Silver. She's a silver girl, I think.
Silver for sure.
Right?
Silver for sure. Are we right?
Final answer.
Yep, absolutely.
Would you say silver?
Yep.
Okay, so that's one of my favorite ways to test for cool tones mostly, because most people who have a little bit more cool tones really gravitate towards the silver. No matter what the trends are, no matter what your mom or your grandma does, people with cool tone skin really like that silver jewelry on their skin. So if that's you, then maybe you have a little bit of that coolness too. Another thing that I like to go with, everybody's seen Friends, and I think that Monica versus Rachel is a really good example of cool versus warm, right? So Rachel's gonna be very golden, and then Monica, she's gonna wear, lip colors more like this, more the pink colors. Another thing that I like to do with cool tone skin is sometimes it's hard to tell. I will squint my eyes and kind of just see their overall color, right? I wanna look at her chest, I wanna look at her arms, even her neck sometimes, but it gets a little bit tricky because some of the pink in people's cheeks gets mistaken for cool tones. So we're looking at the overall color. So what I've done here with Allie today is I've used a neutral foundation rather than the standard cool, because some women don't like to have that kind of pink hue going on with their foundation. Are you one of them?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's what we chose to use on you today, was a more neutral tone. So all of you cool toned or more red toned women out there, I would say that you would tend to gravitate towards more of a neutral foundation. And as a makeup artist, that's what I tend to use as well. There are a few exceptions, and you out there probably know who you are, but for the most part, try out a neutral foundation and you might really love it. So before we get started on P's look today, I just want to ask you guys, from your, knowledge that we've talked about today, what do you guys think Purina's undertones are? Is it going to be more of that cool with the reds that we're talking about, or more warm with those yellows?
Warm.
Warm.
I think
She's
warm.
warm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And so is her spirit.
I was just gonna say, even on the inside.
She really is the sweetest. I promise you. You're a sweetheart. They're right.
Thank you.
So I would have to agree that she is more on the warm side, more warm neutral. I would like to call it, like we're saying, yellows versus reds. And once I look at her skin, I do see yellow, right? So even though I see a lot of yellow in your skin, you are pretty neutral. I wouldn't say that it's too dominant, right? A good way that I like interchangeable words. So sometimes I think golden is a good word for more warm tones. When I look at somebody, you can tell if they're a little bit more golden, right? So Jennifer Aniston to me is a good example of more that warm and golden, right? We want a lot of words. We're human. By nature, we want exactness and we want to categorize things, right? But the truth is that we're all going to be somewhere on this spectrum of color, right? And that's okay. We're all individual, we're all unique, and we want to play up that in ourselves. So the first thing that I would do is I would pick the shade 1 through 10, right? And I picked a 4-ish. And then we went with a more warm yellow toned foundation. Do you tan easily?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so people who have a little bit more warm, neutral undertones are gonna tend to tan a little bit easier. Of course, you're gonna have your exceptions out there. This is not a hard and fast rule. These are just things to help you get a better idea of what type of skin you have and what colors are gonna look best with you and your makeup routine. Also, those of you who are neutral, you're probably going to tan pretty well as well. Those of you who are cool toned might burn a little bit easier just because you have that natural redness in your skin, a little bit of pink, and you might be a little bit more sensitive to the sun's rays. So we hope that you guys all got a little bit of information. You feel a lot better when it comes to picking your foundation color. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe below.
Bye,
Bye,
Charmers.
Charmers!